and time is running out to bring them home. Joining us now to discuss is Daniel Lifshitz, the grandson of Israeli hostage Oded Lifshitz and former Israeli hostage in Gaza, Yocheved Lifshitz. Daniel, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, today marks 300 days in captivity for your Oded. What is being done to push forward in hostage negotiations, if anything, at this point?
I think at this point we are inside an unknown time. It's very, very difficult to understand what would be the consequences of that. Personally, I think assassination of mass murderer, archi-terrorist like Ismail Haniyeh, who is responsible for October 7, is not something that should change humanitarian crisis of 115 hostages whom are there for 300 days and feel like every day is 3. So it's like 900 days today for them. And for the Palestinians, that the Gazans should get their permanent ceasefire after releasing all the 115 hostages. I'm sure that a terrorist which is responsible of October 7 and which is not the decision maker doesn't need to bother and doesn't need to make the change.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, how are the other families of hostages responding to this assassination? Is it viewed by any as a diplomatic setback, or there's no real change, at least that we know of now, to Hamas's approach to these negotiations?
Look, for us, for the families, after 300 days, you understand that the feeling is horrible, no matter about anything or another. It's just devastating. We are really desperate, and we see every day that both sides agree for a deal and don't sign the deal. So also the Americans should say who are the ones who are refusing to the deal. And when I'm speaking and seeing that a country as the British Prime Minister is saying that a ceasefire should be without connecting it directly to the hostages, that is something that bothers us a lot. And if something like that would happen, that would be awful for our hostages, and we cannot accept that. So what we need to do is make the pressure of both sides. We don't need to put any new sections from the Israeli side to prevent a deal. That is very important. We have no time. We can't know what will happen to our hostages in that time. And after 300 days, we know that many of them cannot survive it. And if we will pass more and more days, we will just have more and more dead hostages. That is something that we cannot accept anymore, not as a country, not as a nation, not as the Israeli and Jewish people who are really, for them, the value of life is one of the most important things. So we should prove that the value of life is one of the most important things for us.
Absolutely. We are out of time, but Oded, Daniel, I wanted to thank you for your time. And of course, we are all here in the studio praying for the safe return of your Oded, as well as the full recovery of Yocheved, who I know is doing well from previous interviews. Thank you so much for your time, Daniel.
Thank you.
Archaeologists have uncovered one of Jerusalem's largest ancient quarries dating back to the end of the Second Temple period. This significant find in the Har Chotzvim industrial area reveals massive building stones and tools used by the Jewish population of that era.
A vast quarry, one of the largest ever discovered in Jerusalem, dating back to the end of the Second Temple period, is currently being uncovered by the Israel Antiquities Authority in the Har Chotzvim industrial area of Jerusalem. The site covers approximately 3,500 square meters and is part of an extensive quarry. During the excavation, archaeologists uncovered numerous building stones of various sizes, as well as quarrying and cutting trenches that reveal the dimensions of the quarried blocks. Most of the building stones extracted were massive rock slabs, approximately 2.5 meters long, 1.2 meters wide, and 40 centimeters thick, the archaeologist said.
לאפשרות שהאבנים האלה שימשו כחלק ממפעל הבנייה של רחובות ירושלים העתיקה בימי הבית השני, כמו למשל אבנים שאנחנו חושפים ברחוב האבן המדורג בעיר דוד ובאזורים נוספים באזור ירושלים העתיקה.
In one corner of the quarry, the archaeologists were surprised to discover an intact stone vessel, receptacle, hidden in that corner for 2,000 years.
במחצבה התגלה כלי עשוי מאבן מסוג כלי טהרה ששימש את היישוב היהודי בימי הבית השני. ייתכן שהכלי נעשה בשטח המחצבה או לחלופין הובא לכאן לאתר לשמש את החוצבים.
According to the director of the Israel Antiquities Authority, revealing this huge quarry just before the 9 days and 9th of Av, the time of year when the Jewish people the world over mourn that Jerusalem was lost in these days, is symbolic and